I'm going to be talking about the lawyers' movement in Pakistan in 2007. Some little bit of background. This is Pervez Musharraf. He was the Pakistani Armed Forces head in 1999. He took control of Pakistan in a coup in 1999 in retaliation against the Prime Minister Sharif after he had attempted to remove him from army leadership. He became Pakistan's president in 2001 and was later arrested in 2013 for high treason and suspending the constitution back in 2007. This is Chief Justice Chaudhry. He was a former Pakistani judge and 20th Chief Justice. He was asked to resign by Musharraf in 2007, but he refused, so he was suspended, and this in turn led to the lawyers' movement. He's been described as a fiercely independent force, but has also been criticized for judicial overreach and misuse of office. So, according to an article that I found in Slate, Musharraf fired Chaudhry because he was overseeing cases that implemented the Pakistan military, and human rights activists were getting involved. And this is not good because it was making the military look bad and undermined. He was previously the head of the Pakistan Armed Forces prior to his seizure of the presidency, but because Pakistan had been mostly controlled by the military, its Supreme Court wasn't a strong check on abuses of power by the president. So it's essentially the Supreme Court versus the president. Lawyers in law have been a monumental part of Pakistan since the very beginning, but they're still fighting against bureaucratic rule and military dictatorship. Right now, they don't have a lot of voice, so they don't have the power to take on the military. They know the ins and outs of Pakistani law, though, and what they can or cannot do to boycott their administration. So, Chaudhry was suspended in 2007, but 4 months into the movement, Musharraf kind of crumbled under pressure and reinstated him back as Chief Justice in July of 2007. But in November, he declared a state of emergency and martial law and dismissed Chaudhry again. And this is when he imposed the Provisional Constitutional Order, or the PCO. So the lawyers at this time refused to take oath under the PCO, and instead they reacted by boycotting courts, participating in protests, and taking part in hunger strikes. And just a little bit of a side note, hunger strikes are a method that a lot of people use as a form of nonviolent protest. And this is when they fast to provoke feelings of guilt or to achieve a specific goal, but it's usually a policy change. So this is how the government reacted. They cracked down on the lawyer protests. They beat and jailed thousands of people, even people who were only under suspicion of protesting. So even though the lawyers had acted nonviolently, Musharraf reacted by declaring a state of emergency and suspended the Constitution so that it would give him more freedom to rule without judicial oversight. He was also fearing being removed from office. This is another way that he took control. So this is its effect on the U.S. It really didn't affect us greatly because the U.S. government didn't take sides in the lawyers' movement. The Pakistani people's perception of America had changed, however, because they wanted America to step in and stand up for their democracy. However, according to an article from CBS in 2007, the United States called for a restoration of democracy, but the Pentagon felt certain that the declaration of emergency did not affect U.S. support for Pakistan. So why would a military step in Pakistan and take charge if the president was a product of the military? It's usually when they feel that the president is abusing his power. So according to a foreign policy journal, the military is the country's most powerful institution. It took reign of the government 4 times in the past 63 years when self-serving politicians brought the country to the brink due to their inability to efficiently administer it and provide sound governance. So that's pretty much when they don't feel that the president can maintain power and he's just done too much damage. Musharraf was obviously abusing his power and very self-serving, so he resigned in 2008. This is when Zardari came into the presidency. He was elected in 2008. But he was under a lot of interrogation and all that because of some corruption charges that were brought up against him by the National Reconciliation Organization. So they offered him a deal that they would drop the charges in return for support in criticizing martial law and military dictatorship. But even though he made promises to reinstate the judges after his election, he was afraid to do that because he thought that it would welcome back the cases against him, and this is what upset the lawyers a second time. So the lawyers were really risking their freedom and their lives in these protests. It could have come out to be something much different from what they had originally hoped. They could have completely lost their right to politics, to everything, and the government could have taken over. So when the protests began, Musharraf ordered the military to crack down on the people involved. He also declared martial law and shut down the Pakistani parliament, like I mentioned before. After the lawyers' long march against the country to the capital in Islamabad, and after breaking through many blockades near the capital, Zardari finally reinstated the Chief Justice, but many of his reforms remain unimplemented today. So in conclusion, despite many criticisms, the lawyers' movement has had a deep impact on Pakistan. It's increased judicial independence. Pakistanis are more aware of their rights. It involved a lot more young, active lawyers and had them come up to the forefront, and difficult issues were brought out into the open.